And after a dominant start to the season for Marcus Byfeld, he won the first 2 races on the bounce, but then it was Dan Holmer scooting himself up 5 positions in the championship to win the previous race at Echo Park and to take it to the big boys. Nevertheless, Marcus Byfeld has a huge lead at the front of the standings and will be looking to hold on to it as we get into the midpoint of this Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Oval Series for 2026. It's myself, Cam Roger, Ewan O'Leary alongside me, and Hugo Louise on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast as we bring you the Bohlin's 222 from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. 138 laps of flat track racing coming your way. And here's where we've been racing so far this year. We started at Nashville before we went to Auto Club Richmond and Echo Park. Now we're here at New Hampshire, which is bang in the middle, halfway through the season. Kansas, Bristol, Talladega and Homestead will be the next few races over the next couple of months until we crown our champion. There are some drop rounds to come into this, but they're not applied just yet. However, Marcus Byfeld is holding a 50-point lead as it stands. Gunnarsson has jumped up into second place. Hagman in third. Linus Broström dropped down to fourth after a disappointing race in Atlanta. And Holmer went from 10th to 5th in the standings as he's tied with Peter Helmborough. A few names you'd expect a little bit higher up maybe, such as Aronson. He's had a bad couple of races there down in P10, but again, when the drop scores come into it, he should jump up just a little bit. But it's ever close in the midfield, as always, with 1 point per position. And as ever, we get to New Hampshire, which is a very tricky circuit, very little banking, a 1 mile oval with quite long straights but tight corners. So Ewan, I think this is going to be a very tricky race for the drivers, knowing how the tyres wear in this car.
It's a very unusual racetrack in many ways, is New Hampshire. As I say, quite large really for a short track at over a mile long, but the turns are very tight and the straights are rather long, so it is quite unusual. A lot of stress put through the rear tyres here, especially the rear right tyre as you're looking to get the exits. Almost sort of road course style, the way that getting off the turns is so important at this racetrack. You can see it, Holmer here just trying to search for the line. The way that the banking just changes, it's right down on the bottom, it's 2 degrees of banking, which is fairly noticeable. Further up higher, you can get 7 degrees, which is not exactly the steepest in the world, but it's finding that balance really between keeping the shortest route around these turns, but also utilising some of that banking up high. It does make for interesting racing. I think this is personally a bit of an underrated short track, actually. We'll see how smart that comment proves to be in 138 laps after we've done with this race.
Yes, I got into the commentary booth. Hugo, producer, was saying it's going to be a bit of a wreck fest, but we'll see how it goes. Sometimes these tracks will actually surprise you, these shorter tracks. You're thinking, it's going to be close quarters racing, big dives on the brakes. There's always an opportunity for a crash here and there, but we'll see. As you do have 18 drivers out here on the circuit. They're in the qualifying session. Marcus Byfeld, once again, is putting himself up towards the front with Gunnarsson and Broström, his championship rivals up there. Holmer struggling a bit down in 10th position. Marcus Hagman as well, 3rd place in the championship, down there in 9th. But as ever been a short track, it's so close, just a couple of tenths separating the drivers up towards the front of the field. And we actually have 3 drivers who were not able to set a competitive lap time, so they'll be starting from the back of the grid. It's the Bohlin's 222, and your front row looks like this. It's Byfeld and Gunnarsson separated by less than a tenth of a second, with Broström and Leppit, as he has a resurgence in performance, up there in P number 4. And Oliver Bohlin is there in P5, with Joe Bohlin in P6. Fagerberg, Helmborough, Hagman, Holmer, Boker and Dante Forsberg will be your top 12. Then it's going to be Lundberg, Tier, Broström, Uvenen, Erling and Skoglund, the 18 drivers for today's race. So Ewan, a few drivers not showing up for this one, so slightly smaller field. Is that going to make it easier, or is it still going to be difficult either way?
Well, yeah, I think it is probably going to be difficult either way. The facts still remain about this racetrack. The fact it can be quite tight in places, the fact it's still very difficult, the fact that the tyres, especially the rear tyres, are going to be not particularly enjoying these turns. Those things are all still true, no matter how many drivers we have in the field. Although maybe the lesser numbers will help a little bit in terms of cautions. I do seem to remember this being in last season's championship when we did a 24-25 season, and it was sort of around this time of year, I feel, as well. maybe just before the playoffs or something, and we did see really quite a lot of cautions on that day. We'll see how many we get here as well, but this is a smaller field than what we had back then, and maybe that will help.
Yes, maybe it will. I'm just trying to have a look. So it was the 30th of January of 2025. 139 laps on that occasion, and it was Jesper Eriksson, who would have thought, winning the race that time around. And what was his winning margin? It was actually just less than a second, as you would expect. So it must have been a late caution that day. Oh, we actually had 13 cautions last time we came to this race. So certainly a lot. However, Ericsson led 71 of the 139 laps, so about half of the laps were led. So it wasn't quite, yo-yoing all over the place.
No, but I do remember it being quite heavy on the cautions. Trying to find what the longest run was, because I did note that down, because there were so many cautions. I did note down the longest run. It was 44 laps, but by that point we'd already had 10 cautions. So that was quite deep in the race by the time we had 44 laps in a row. To be fair, that's not bad going. That's about a quarter of the race in one go. But just looking back at some of the reasons for caution as well, which I noted down a few of them, it's notable how at this circuit, it's sort of solo incidents are actually the cause of caution a little bit more than some of the others. For example, the one that brought that 44 lap run to an end after 10 cautions, Thomas Cannell spun on getting on the power on his own. So yeah, it's one of those circuits where you can very much see incidents where drivers are just completely alone, and that's what might keep the cautions coming here, no matter how many there are on the field.
Indeed, but it's going to be an interesting point of the season. Is Marcus Byfeld from the pole position going to start running away with it, or are some other drivers going to start and coming to challenge him? Because Jonas Gunnarsson is there on the front row as well as the Bohlin's 222 here from New Hampshire Motor Speedway as we get racing for the midpoint of the Bohlin Svenska iRacing Oval Series. And what a start that is from Byfeld as he works his way into the first corner. He's going to hold that really nice. It's actually quite wide here. You can go up the inside, and that is exactly what we've seen up the inside there from Broström as he tries to steal second place, but Gunnarsson has a good run on the outside.
Yeah, that outside run should be pretty advantageous at this circuit, and he dives in front of Broström in towards 3 and 4 to take the place. Yes, Leppert with some good speed on the outside there. Actually, Gunnarsson turns underneath Byfeld. What a turn up for the books that would be as they complete lap number 1. Gunnarsson challenging for the lead already.
And this is nice, a little bit further back again. Oliver Bohlin diving in, so 2 dives at the same time. Gunnarsson makes his move for the lead, and looks like Bohlin in the background is going to do it as well. So you can dive down the inside here as we go down the back stretch. To 33 is trying to take it to the championship leader. He hasn't been quite as competitive as he would have wanted in terms of winning races so far this season. So is this the time where he can stop the 105 machine? And he's finally done it after a lap of action, as I don't think Byfeld is going to be giving this one up though.
He certainly won't be. See him looking towards turn 1 maybe. No, not this time. And Gunnarsson might well get the chance to lead a few laps. It really depends here what Byfeld decides to do, whether he is going to have one of those races where he says, well, I don't have to lead all the laps, I just have to be leading after 138, so I'm happy for you to lead away for a moment. Or does he want to really dominate the field here and lead as many as possible? Well, he's not been able to work his way past just yet, as Jonas Leppert now gets challenged by Oliver Bohlin through 3 and 4. So Leppert was doing the challenging earlier, he was trying to get to the top 3. Now he's the one who is vulnerable to moving backwards.
And Oliver Bohlin loves this really tight entry of 1 and 3. Is it going to work on the exit eventually? Because it's lap after lap. He's trying to finally slide his way past Leppert, but he can't quite make it work. But look at this. He's really going to hug the apron on that inside line where, as you say, there's minimal banking, but you have a way shorter distance with it being such a wide corner here. You can actually basically V off the corner and get a good run, but you do many, many extra meters, so you have to really try and make it work. As Bohlin really dives it. The good thing for him, though, is that the 71 is kind of blocking the 40 in terms of really braking heavily, braking later into that corner. So Bohlin's trying to make this work.
Yeah, it's going on for quite some time. I do wonder whether Linus Broström can actually do anything to help him here. I mean, he could he could have brake checked Leppit, I suppose, while he was boxed in, but that would have been a bit unsportsmanlike, and he didn't indeed go and do that. In fact, in the end, he's actually in danger himself, because Bohlin in his overtake, and now Bohlin might let him in, but Bohlin in his overtake getting alongside Linus Broström there just for a moment, and he is going for the proper move, so teammates properly fighting here, and Janis Leppit with no chance to respond at the moment, but he could do if, or when one of these two falls back in behind the other teammate.
Always a little bit contact in behind, actually. Fagerberg runs slightly into the back of Leppit, but it looks like they continue on nicely as it stands. But yeah, the 71-72 teammates are battling hard at this moment of the race. They're not letting the top two get away though, which is good. Gunnarsson does seem a little bit comfortable as Byfeld goes deep into one as we get almost a three-wide situation. Bohlin tries to come up the inside, Broström in the middle, Byfeld on the outside. This just allows Gunnarsson to get away by another couple of tenths of a second through turns 1 and 2. But Byfeld maybe not quite 100% comfortable as he gets back into race conditions.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. Maybe he's just conserving his tyres and whatever at this stage in the race, but you don't have to make a pit stop in this first stage. After 60 laps, we're going to see the first, well, it might not be the first caution, but it will be a caution at 60 laps, and you can go all the way there on fuel. So Byfeld thinking about that, thinking, well, I might have to go a very long way on this set of tyres, so I'm just going to hold back a little bit of something through this first part of the race. Or is he really struggling compared to what we saw from him in qualifying? Down the inside from Oliver Bohlin, and it looks like he's going to go through here into second place.
Bohlin is being so fast at the moment, about 5th place on the grid. He's loving life so far. Big dive down the inside once again. That pushes Broström outside. He tries to make it almost a 3-wide, trying to cut off Byfeld from slipping up high, but in the end, the 105 is still doing a very good job as Gunnarsson gets almost a 1-second lead. But I guess one of the problems is we're in a 31-second lap, so with almost a 2-second drop off on the tyres. They might think about pit stopping from that point of view, but only 31 seconds, you are going to go a lap down as the 72 once again looks really good off the corner, but because he's so tight on the inside, doesn't get the momentum, loses a good couple of car lengths. Instead of challenging Byfeld, is now looking to drop in behind Broström. It's funny how that ebbs and flows across the track.
Yeah, it is an interesting racetrack to battle around, and it's good that we've got this opening green flag run of at least 10 laps here to begin with as well, because it sets us up nicely, allows us to see a proper battle develop as we are seeing here between these guys. That was a bit wide there from Linus Broström. I think he grazed the wall coming out of turn 4. Again, the teammates find themselves side by side, and lots of other teammates would think, what are we doing this for? We need to get sorted here, try and see who's best placed to get ahead of Marcus Byfeld, but at the moment Bohlin and Broström are happy to run door to door as they have been for some time.
Yeah, this is a pretty fun track that we've seen so far. The amount of different lines that you can do, but it's not slam dunk in terms of which one is better. It seems very even so far. I wonder how that will progress as the race goes on though, but that's a great view there from Janis Leppit as he watches this battle up ahead. Looks like Bohlin has completed that move for second place though. Oh, is he big slides on the exit of turn 2. That's going to lose a lot of momentum. He blocks off Byfeld, but Broström comes through as well. So Byfeld once again in a first stage of a race is sitting back, and he's not going full aggressive. There's contact as the 40 hits the back of him. That's going to allow Fagerberg to get up the inside.
Yeah, it wasn't much contact, but it did seem to unsettle Byfeld there. And here comes Elliot Fagerberg. He's not alongside Byfeld though. It's actually given Byfeld a bit of breathing space there, because the two behind him have been battling with one another. It seems that slide for Bohlin there was actually a good thing for both him and Broström, because it effectively meant that Byfeld got caught behind him as he was gathering up that slide, and it meant that he couldn't return to the top 3 again. So Bohlin and Broström move up now. Fagerberg is trying to do the same as well. This is the danger of this racetrack. Even if you're Marcus Byfeld, you can get shuffled back very quickly if you do let 1 or 2 drivers past.
Yeah, I think that's just race management at this point, though. I'm not worried about his pace going backwards. I think he just sees the 2 Polski Logistics teammates just coming past and being a bit aggressive, so he's probably just sitting there nicely. He often comes back a lot later in the end of the stage, though, to try and get as many points, and he has got a couple of stage wins to his name so far this season, and that, of course, is an extra 10 points that'll be going towards his championship total. And with just a 9-race season, if you get those 10 points every race, it's obviously 90 in total, which is almost 2 race wins. So it's very, very important to try and get as many stage points as you can. So I think he's just playing the longer game, but he's got some aggressive guys around him. The next one's Fagerberg.
Yeah, he has looked aggressive so far, and real desire to try and come through here is Fagerberg at the moment. So much so that Janus Leppert, who himself has shown a bit of punchiness so far, has decided, well, you better go on past me at the moment because that might cause more trouble than it's worth. So he watches on as Fagerberg tries to look for a way past Marcus Byfeld. Already 15 laps complete in this race and already a quarter of the way to the stage, but are we only halfway through a stint or not? I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see if this race does continue on in the way that it started, whether they're going to pit under green before the first stage comes out, and whether that means Marcus Byfeld will start to come back into his own, and whether he is just saving his tyres at this stage.
So with the lap number that we have, we are expecting still, we'll need obviously a pit stop at the stage, and then we'll need another pit stop to get to the end just about. So you're only going to have a really short splash and dash at the end, but they still have that one extra set of tyres. And the third stint is already going to be really short, so they have a lot of room to play with in terms of these pit stops over the race. So if someone wants to go bold and do something different, I wouldn't be surprised if it actually could work. But as ever, it always depends. Are we going to stay green like this, or will a caution come out in the meantime? As talking of cautions, or the opposite of that, Gunnarsson and Bohlin are getting closer. I wonder if Bohlin really wants to go this and go aggressive. He's chased down and closed down that gap by about half a second, and from 5th place on the grid, he's definitely been the fastest driver as we got back to these racing conditions.
Yeah, he really has closed down the race leader here. Again, just depends what he's going to do with this strategy. I personally think that if there's a caution, then everyone's going to come in and take that extra set, but if not, then they might well stay out. Maybe they'll stay out anyway, because I want to mention time and time again in this series about having that extra set of tyres for the end of the race. I mean, we're less than 20 laps in now, but we're more than a second slower already than the best lap times. So that starts to add up very, very quickly when you're at the end of the race, although it's not the biggest drop-off of any circuit that we go to. Drop-off should be a maximum of 2 seconds after the 60 laps or so, so we're told. See if that gets a little bit more severe as the day goes on, because the track temperature is very high, 52 degrees centigrade and 125 Fahrenheit. That has got to be having an effect here on these tyres, or at least it might do later.
Yeah, that's very true. Hot day here in the northeast, and that of course makes it even more difficult for the drivers, as you're mentioning. Plus the fact it's a flat track, plus the fact just this car in general, we always see the drivers scoot around on that rear. There's a good example of that with Bohlin. Just as he tries to get back to full throttle, there's that wiggling that goes around on the rear end. Is really a loose car, and we've seen this a lot compared to the next gen car that we had in the previous season. And look at this, going up the inside, trying to make it work. 2 different lines, scooting on the rear end as well. I am worried for those rear tyres if we do need to go another 40 laps on them.
Yeah, that will be a factor in everyone's thinking at the moment. I feel like people, because a lot of these drivers, of course, were in last year's race as well, although we don't have everybody who was in last year's race in this one. A lot of the ones in this one were there, and that means that they'll have the memory of seeing the 14 cautions or whatever it was, and just knowing that, yeah, it could be a very stop-start race. However, it hasn't been like that so far, so maybe it has taken a few people off guard. Gunnarsson and Bohlin maybe have started this race saying, well, it is going to be filled with cautions, so we might as well hit out hard straight away and get the track position. Maybe Marcus Byfeld has decided that it's not going to be like that. It's going to be a little bit different this time around, and he's taking it more cautiously to open up with. It's hard to know really what these guys have been thinking before this race got underway, but it seems that some of these guys who hit out hard might well pay for this later if they do end up having to go all the way to the end of the first stage with these set of tyres.
Indeed, and we are as you say, over a second off the pace. So there's already been a lot of drop off. We're already seeing, once again, Bohlin wiggling around there. He really does need to be careful. Otherwise, he'll be going backwards and backwards later on because he's not really gaining anything. Overall, right now he's gaining 4 positions. But if he then completely drops off his tyres and he goes outside the top 10, gets no stage points, then really what was the overall benefit of that? I do not know. We'll have to wait and see how it works out. But Gunnarsson is definitely under threat now. Bohlin less than 0.2 of a second in behind Broström, Byfeldt, Fagberg. They are just sort of following each other at the in the background of this shot. But the 72, one time, surely he's going to dive it. This could be an opportunity, but actually Gunnarsson sort of half blocks him off. He goes a little bit wide though, so 72 picks up the throttle mid-corner, tries to get his nose ahead, but he's going to have a much tighter, shorter exit, and the 33 uses that momentum.
Yeah, it's that balance again I was talking about earlier at this venue where you're going so low, and as you pointed out earlier, he does like that tight line as well on the inside line. However, it doesn't give you a very good run off the exit. It doesn't give you any assistance with banking, really, only 2 degrees down there. And obviously even less if you're grabbing the apron. So that's the big downside. And Gunnarsson seemingly has found a line that he's very comfortable with there. Just going up to the high side of the sort of darker tarmac, really, before you get to the grey on the real outside. That's where you don't want to be, but just up in that high part of the inside groove, and it gives you a good entry, good mid-corner speed, and most importantly a good exit as well, especially compared to being on the inside line there. So that's what Gunnarsson's using time and time again. As long as he keeps hitting that, looks like Bohlin is going to find this quite difficult to get past. He's going to have to get a significant speed advantage or try something else. There he goes. He enters a little bit through the middle this time rather than going so tight to the inside. He does get alongside a little bit further this time, but not all the way through.
Broström has a big wiggle in the background, shouldn't lose the place to Byfeldt as it stands, but that was certainly a good opportunity once again for Bohlin. Can't quite make it work. So this mid line, it seems, is the place to be. It's the overall best line, as the really tight line. The corner's just a little bit too tight to make it work, it seems. But of course, we're not just focusing on the guys at the front. We did see that battle there between Forsberg and Hagman. That is for P14, P15 that Forsberg's come out on top of. They're both down positions from the start, though. The likes of Uvenen has dropped up 5 positions above them, and even Kenneth Tier jumping up a couple of places. So they've dropped down from the start. But that is important for Hagman as he's 3rd place in the championship.
Yeah, we are in the stage of the season now. You mentioned we're at halfway, at the half distance mark in this race. We're at that stage where you're thinking about how can you close that gap to Marcus Byfeldt at the moment, because it's a huge advantage that he's got in this championship. Built, of course, in the first 3 weeks as he won the first 3 races of this season. The championship margin, though, still extended last time out, even when he didn't win the race, because Daniel Holmer was all the way down in 10th prior to that race. So he's got 50 points coming into tonight, Byfeldt, and you've got to try and chip away at that now. If you look at this final part of the season as 5 races, you're looking at sort of 10 points a race. That's very, very difficult to do, although the fact that there is a stage means that you've got double the opportunity, I suppose. But even in this scenario, Gunnarsson's gaining, 3 points at the moment on Byfeldt just at the stage. Then he'd have to go on and beat him at the end of the race as well to start chipping away at the margin in the way that he has to. It's such a mountain to climb for the others.
But if they finish at this position at the end of the race, that'll be overall 8, 3, so there'll be about 11 points overall, which will be the swing. So, that is that 10 points a race that you're talking about. So if it's just a difference in 1st and 4th to the end of the season, then there is hope for the other drivers, as Byfeldt is now going for the offensive, as he's going to get past Broström. That is going to be for 3rd position. Should he complete this move down the back straight into 3 and 4, we know that midline is good, which is what Broström's on, but is Byfeldt just far enough ahead to complete the move? I think he has. So that is an important one for his race. He can now push on, try and get some more points at the end of this stage, as we're halfway through that. Obviously in the top part of the screen, though, this battle is continuing on. That's Uvenen in the 11th place. Lundberg ahead. That's the final stage point in P10 that they're chasing for.
Yeah, it's still nearly 30 laps away from the stage, to be fair, but it's all about positioning yourself for it. That's a bit wide from Helmbro. And Kenneth Tier doesn't seem to care. He just runs around the outside anyway in that lighter tarmac. That's very impressive, really. You wouldn't expect somebody to be able to run up that high and actually make that work there. But he's able to take that really high line and just rip around the outside of Helmbro very nicely. Even though there is a difference in the degree of banking, clearly it's such a flat racetrack, doesn't really matter anyway. And on the outside line, Kenneth Cheer will get back in front of Peter Helmbro again. So that's a very... Oh, and now maybe he's gone even too far as he drifts even further up. But no, seemingly the flatness of the racetrack up there is not applying to Kenneth Cheer. He's finding success up there, which is a bit unusual, really, outside of that black groove in the inside.
See if it continues to work or not. It's so difficult, isn't it, to complete the moves. You know, you go car length ahead, car length behind, but at the end of the day, you just average out to being side by side. Once again, down this front stretch, you really have to try and get a bit of an advantage on your rival. But let's see, this is Jo Bohlin and Lars Bulker. Lars Bulker, 7th place. That is done if he can keep it up the inside here into turn 3. That'll be Bohlin in the 43, jumping down a position. And that is actually potentially an important one championship-wise as well, because these two are side-by-side in the championship. There's only 6 points between them. Obviously, they want to swap that around by the time it gets into the season. That's for P12 and P13 in the overall standings as it sits. Broström drops down another one, though. Fagerberg gets past. Now, the 71, who often plays the long game, ironically, is the one now falling back as the tyres are wearing.
Well, is this still part of him playing the long game, or has he indeed gone out too soon here? Track temperature still rising, by the way, now 53 degrees Celsius. It is very, very warm on the racetrack, and it looks like Marcus Byfeld has played this better than anybody. He's now closing in on Oliver Bohlin, whose attacks on Gunnarsson were fended off earlier, and now he's struggling to stay with Gunnarsson, it seems, at the front of the field. Tier and Helmbro still going at it here. There's a bit of a crisscross there, as you might see on the road course. Kenneth Tier with the run on the back straight, trying to get past Peter Helmbro in towards turn 3 and 4 on the inside line. Helmbro running very high there, and now he's making it work as much as Kenneth Tier was earlier on. As I mentioned earlier, this race... oh dear, he's found the wall there slightly. I mentioned earlier, this oval does behave like a road course sometimes, and that was... a road course cutback coming onto the back straight there.
Yeah, lovely positioning. And then in 3 and 4, Kenneth Tier managed to get far enough alongside that he was trying to squeeze up in front of the 77. He didn't get quite in front, so they sort of squeezed towards the wall, and Helmbro just brushing it on the outside. I don't think really any foul play as such, just close racing between those guys. And in the end, 77 just losing a bit of momentum and unfortunately losing that position. We go back to the lead though, lap 38, stage a lap 60, so we still have just over 20 to go. It's been green flag here at the Bohlin's 222 from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. It's been green all the way from the start. We've had various different leaders, but it's currently Gunnarsson who leads by half a second. Bohlin not able to get through when he closed down to about even less than 0.2 of a second. Now Byfeld and Fagerberg, they're chasing down, and it's going to be a big, big fight for this stage win in 20 laps' time. Yeah,
it will be. As I mentioned earlier, these points so important at this stage in the season, trying to get past Byfeld, but it's going to be so difficult. Gunnarsson is probably best placed than anybody to do this, but he's got to, in some ways, get the assistance of some others around as well. You know, he's got to hope that Bohlin can keep him behind. He's got to hope that Fagerberg maybe can catch up and pass Marcus Byfeld. And these are not things he has control over, nor are they, I would describe, as very likely to even happen anyway, if I'm honest. So it's difficult to see for Gunnarsson how he's going to overturn this. He's just got to run his own race, his own series, effectively. Try to get as many points as he can, hoping for a slip up from Marcus Byfeld at some stage, as they come to 20 to go now to the stage. It's really going to ramp up now, but Byfeld seems to have timed this quite well. As long as he's not gone too soon and his tyres are going to hold up, then I think he might well come through to win this stage.
Yeah, he's looking good, isn't he? Just dropped off for 10, 15 laps and now coming back, trying to manage those tyres, because it's always those micro savings that really add up over the course of the stint. You saw Bohlin sliding here, sliding there, you just put an extra 5 degrees, 10 degrees of tire temperature, even just for like half a second, then it comes back down just with those slides. It's those little bits that they add up and they snowball. As everything, the pressure increases and the tires wear a little bit more. It's not ideal. Side by side we go. Joel Bohlin, and this is Dan Homer, your winner from the previous race, getting past him. So Bohlin now dropping down 2 places, was 7th place, dropped down to 8th, now into 9th, as Homer in the 79 machine has got that position and is looking to come back to the top, as we saw last time out in Atlanta.
Yeah, indeed. This battle just continues on and on down the back end of the field. There's really not much to fight for back here when the stage is upcoming. I suppose a bit of track position ahead of what are inevitable pit stops, really, for this entire field. We didn't see any at the halfway stage of this opening stage. Nobody came in at all. And so it's going to stay like that to the end of the stage now. It's just about where, in terms of track position, are you going to be going into that pit stop phase. You'd rather have the extra car than thought to. Heading in as the top of the screen, Byfeld finally able to work on his move on Oliver Bohlin and pretty easily gets down the inside there.
Yes, as Fagerberg kind of gets left in the dust as well, so this really is Byfeld moving forward and trying to go for this stage win. Dropped down, I even think it's about 5th position at one point, and now he's just working his way back through and trying to get up towards Gunnarsson. Gunnarsson's been leading for a long time now, and Byfeld hasn't really looked to challenge that back. But of course, when you get, especially by the time he gets to 10 laps to go, he wants to already be in position, because we've seen it can take 5 laps sometimes to complete a move if the pace is pretty similar between some drivers. But it's actually been pretty nice and clean racing so far. We just had that one moment of Helmbro getting just sort of squeezed up a little bit into the barrier, but it wasn't that bad in general compared to what we were expecting after 13 cautions at a race of the same distance here just over a year ago.
Yeah, it's remarkable how 1 year has changed how this race very, very similar in length compared to that one year ago, and just how different the outcome so far as the racing is concerned. Maybe there's been a few changes or whatever over the course. There's been quite a few updates since then. It seemed to me like a much more difficult racetrack just to drive actually 1 year ago. But maybe that's not quite as true anymore, even in these scorching conditions that we have down on the racetrack here today. Maybe there's a number of factors involved, but it's been clean and green. And of course, remember, last year we didn't even have the caution at the stage, so we would have even carried on past that if we were back on last year's rules. But the drivers asked for a caution at the stage for these 2 seasons, and that's what we've got. So there will be one in 13 laps.
There certainly will. Points will be dished out as they will all go down pit road. We are looking at what we were almost 2 seconds for some drivers, nearly 2 seconds off the fastest race lap. So we are getting to that point, being the slowest that the tyres are going to get, and then they just have to try and hold on as best they can. The fuel, as you mentioned, is enough to get to lap 60, so it will be just a game of holding on to your tyres and hoping to not put it in the fence and call out a caution. Because if there is a caution now, everyone's just going to come down pit road, I would assume, because if it's 2 seconds lap, you're going to get absolutely freight trained on the start if you don't have that fresh grip. Here's Marcus Hogman, 13th position, trying to work his way a little bit further forward. He's got Uvenen on his outside, Kenneth Tier third back there, and he works his way, the number 12, now back into P12. He's working his way forward. He was down even as though as 15th at one point, but worked his way forward, and he's now chasing down that final point. Lundberg still holds that though in P10, just on the very edge of shot in front.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually, because Lundberg at one stage did get quite a gap from the battles that were happening, and it seems he's not been able to retain that at all. I don't know whether he's fallen off the cliff with his tyres here or whether some of the others have found some speed, but he's now under pressure for that final point, as Gunnarsson is for the stage win. This is a long, long time to keep a driver of a standard of Marcus Byfeld in behind you, but it's so important, almost as a statement for this season, really, on the halfway mark of the season. Byfeld has had it all his own way so far, really, by that lack of a victory last time out, but he's had 32 stage points out of 40. Only dropped 8 stage points over the course of the halfway mark so far this season. It would still be, of course, a big 9 points for him if he would fended off by Gunnarsson, but nevertheless, I think it's a statement from Gunnarsson that this championship's not over, and I'm going to try and reel in that gap over the course of the next 5 rounds.
Exactly, because it's not really about the 1 point extra the Byfeld will get. It's about the fact that he can be beaten, but I don't know about this. Look at the speed and the grip he's got on that inside line. The 33 will hold it. He's going to keep him tight on the exit, and he will have a better run. A little bit of a wiggle, though, from the 105 machine, so Gunnarsson might actually be able to hold on to this because he should get a similar run as he work away through turns number 1 and 2, but no, the 105 goes in deep, and the 33 has to back out of that one. So Byfeld takes the lead on lap 52, and this is him coming for a charge for the stage. Look at everyone in the dust. They're leaving them behind, and he's going to really just start pulling away with it now. He's kept on, held on to his tyres, kept them in a good temperature window, and now he just needs to hold on for another 8 laps to take another stage victory.
It's just been so well timed from Byfeld, hasn't it? It's almost like he's been given the script for this race. He knows exactly how it's going to go. No cautions in the first part of this race before the stage break. So make sure you mind out for your tyres for 60 laps, not just 30 or so. I think that's been the downfall of some of these drivers so far. I think Gunnarsson may be a little bit guilty of that, but not as much as some others. Likes of Bohlin and Broström have really fallen back. Leppert as well, really fallen back later on in this run. But Byfeld has just, compared to the others anyway, got quicker and quicker as they've gone along. Obviously, he's getting slower compared to his previous best, but he's still only hovering about a second and a half worse off than his best lap time of the day. Jannis Leppert, for example, is over 2 seconds off his best, and he's now well outside the top 5 by some seconds. So he's just timed this so well as Byfeld, and it's a very deserving stage win, and a bit of a morale-crushing one as well for those trying to chase him.
And it's one of those things where it's literally just maybe half a tenth here and there that you sacrifice in the opening 10-15 laps of the stint, gives you that half a second now per lap. It's pretty crazy how that works when the snowball effect comes into it. But the race is not over, so Helmbro has got that position for P10, but there's other positions up for grabs as Dan Homer gets past Lars Bulker. So Homer's worked his way forward position by position. He's now up into 7th place and is able to hold on to that as well. So it looks like the Polski Aviation Division driver dropping down into 8th place, but also on the bottom end of your screen, that's Håkan Schott having a big battle. This for P17. It's not for stage points, but it is going to be for that track position when we go down pit lane. And as ever, every position is going to count when everyone gets bunched back up. And then we get going racing once again after the caution.
Yeah, it is going to matter for that run down into pit lane. Give you that. But oh, that was very close. Wow, that was very, very close there to an accident. I thought Håkan Schott there had come across just a little bit too much on Jonas Skoglund, and that would have brought the stage to an end. I think we're in that window now. Yeah, we are. That would have brought the stage to an end early, but Håkan Schott just kept himself in check. He made sure he didn't lean on the 83 too hard because Skoglund was pinned right up against the wall. And if Schott had gone any further, he would have been tipped around into a spin, tipped into the wall, and that would have been that. So, yeah, we're staying green, but only just in these final laps of the stage.
Indeed, lap 57, turning lap 58. The 49 has the inside line to make it work. This is for P13, and he's actually got that stuck down the inside, so it's not over just yet. Though, because the 84, look at that, it was half a car length behind. Now it's going to be half a car length ahead. And even more, oh, big crash on the straight. That's going to bring out the caution, and that will end the stage as it is. And it looks like Marcus Hagman may have just nicked the final points there. As the caution comes out, it will be Tony Uvinen with the meatball as well after a big hit on that inside wall on the exit of T4. But Marcus Byfeld will take yet again the stage victory here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. But while this all irons itself out, we go down pit road, we'll take a few messages from our partners. Welcome back to New Hampshire Motor Speedway. It's the Bohlin's 222 and round number 5 of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Oval Series for 2026. Is myself, Cam Roger, Ewan O'Leary alongside me, and Hugo Louise on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast. And here is the incident that brought out the stage caution at the end. It was Uvenham sliding against the wall, and in the end came down on the 49 and enough to send him into the wall. Let's see this once again. Was there sort of a bounce off the 84? No, they kind of, I'll tell you what, they kind of moved together a little bit. It was the 49 coming up, then the 84 coming away from the wall, and just some really tough and hard racing out there. But that led Marcus Byfeld to come across the line, and I do believe Marcus Hagman in the end actually just got past Helmbro for the final stage point as well. Dante Forsberg did not stop. Okay, that's an interesting one, because fuel only goes like 65 laps, so he's going to have to come in and go a lap down, unless he's hoping there's going to be another caution straight away. We'll find out. Anyway, the 357 is going to get us going once again, but on old tyres. Oh, look at this. He can't even go in a straight line. He's got bumped in the wall by the 33, but I don't blame Gunnarsson at all, as there's just a complete difference of grip there. So difficult to judge, as even in a straight line, the 357 couldn't get away. That's allowed Broström to drive down the inside, up into second place. Bohlin on the outside. What a great start there for the Polski Logistics duo as they get up into the podium places so far. Gunnarsson down to 4th.
Yeah, not entirely sure what Dante Forsberg is doing. To be fair, by extending this, he might be able to make it a one-stop race, but I can't really see the benefit in that either at the moment. But anyway, he's got such older tyres compared to the rest. It's a good show for later, actually, as to what new tyres versus old will do. Everybody, though, has kept a set of tyres back because there was no caution in that first part of the race. So it's sort of simplified the remainder of the race here a little bit. Forsberg was doing okay at accelerating before he was hit by Gunnarsson, to be fair. But it's just the lack of grip that he's got there. Everybody else did a good job, though, of avoiding him and going out to the outside line there, because that could have been a very short run indeed, as that's a big slide there from Gunnarsson again, and he drops out the top 10.
Oh my word, look how far down he's gone. Is that P14? That is a big shame from the driver who's trying to beat Buffer in the championship. Wallen goes to the front. As we saw in the previous stint, he was going out hard and is able to get past Byfeld at the front there. But oh my word, for the 33, that could be a big struggle for the next part of this race. He's now 4 seconds off the lead, but he's got so many drivers. Let's see this, as he's having a big slide there, coming through 3 and 4. And look at the cars sliding past him.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that classic thing of getting on the power out of either turn 2 or turn 4 here. It's very similar. And that time at turn 4, Gunnarsson had to lock it all up to try and make sure he didn't go all the way around in a spin. And this is the sort of consistency thing as well that Marcus Byfeld has had in spades over the rest of the field this season. It's the lack of mistakes that we see throughout the races from him. You never see that kind of thing from Marcus Byfeld. We haven't, at least this season. And yet you do from all the others. It's a rotating cast of people challenging Byfeld with each round, but never the same driver every single time, and that's why this championship lead will continue to grow.
That's a big cut-off there by Lars Bulker ahead of Marcus Hagman, and that was a big slide, but he was able to, not really a slide, but just a move down over the track, and he's into the wall on the XF4. He's going to lose a little bit of momentum. The 12 has half an opportunity there, but not enough for him to think about diving down the inside there. But once again, Bulker runs a little bit wide. The 12, MHE Racing thinking about getting up the inside to work around the XF2. Not enough. The outside line holds strong. Once again, with that, just more camber on the outside in terms of the banking of the track. And then also a little bit of a nicer arc to get back on the power. Bulker tries to V off the corner there, and that actually works out really well.
It's again, it's really sort of akin to a road course, the way that you can do these different lines through this turn. There he goes, searching again for that really low run. He's sort of sitting the wall on the inside line there as he's getting the power down, using the apron almost to rotate the car a little bit there. It's when you make that transition down onto the apron, it does just help you rotate a little bit, as long as you can control it. As Jonas Gunnarsson gets down the inside of Daniel Holmer. finally moves back into the top 10 again, but this mistake that he made earlier is going to take some recovering from.
Yes, indeed. I mean, he's already made a couple of places, but he's lost time to the leaders, such as the natural flow of traffic. Here's Broström down the inside of Byfeld. He beelines it to the inside apron, trying to get a much shorter line. Byfeld almost does the opposite of going extra wide, but the 71 gets up easily in front of him. But let's see the momentum down this front straight, as it's going to be the 105. Oh, he lifts off there. He doesn't go back for that. So once again, we see that Byfeld is taking it nice and easily, nice and calm in the first 10 laps of the stage.
Well, expect this part to be a little bit less... I mean, earlier he was taking it easy for ages in that first part of the race, and then he started to come into his own in sort of the last 15, 20 laps. Don't expect it to go on for so long this time. I would say he will try to, as he's going to let Fagerberg here through maybe as well. He's certainly thinking about it. This final part of the race could be split into half. So there was something like 66 or something laps to go when we went back green again. Maybe a few more. And that means that splitting this, I think it's slightly too far to go on fuel, personally. Maybe slightly too far. And I think what people might do instead of fuel saving and tyre saving to such a degree as what we did see in that first stage is, with about 35 laps to go or so, maybe lap 105, 33 laps to go, come into the pit lane for their third set of 4 tyres. Still gives you one down on pit lane if there's a caution. And if there's a caution between now and then, I think we might well see pit stops anyway. But I don't think that period of the race for Byfeld, where he's just letting people past and seemingly coasting along almost as if he has no speed, will go on for a lot less time than it did in the first stage.
Yeah, that's true. And I think you're right. I mean, even once you get to lap 78, we're easy on fuel to the end. So any time the caution comes out, people will be pitting and taking fuel and tyres to the end, I do believe, especially with the tyre drop-off that we've seen. I don't think we're going to wait and get a green flag stop. But I might be wrong, because if it stays green the whole way, then they're going to have to do that. We've got the 2 Polski Logistics drivers pushing each other towards the front. And one interesting note for what it's worth, we do have a Ford and a Chevrolet chassis in the same team there. The 71 gets up the inside though, and this is interesting. They don't want to battle too much, because surely you want to try and pull away, and you don't want to let Byfeld get anywhere closer to you. The 71, big dive to the inside once again. Oliver Warner, he looks strong for the first 5-10 laps of this stage, but now it's actually Broström in the 71, who we saw struggling in the opening part of this race, is now coming back strong on the second set of tyres.
Yeah, I mean, this is what's been puzzling so far in this race for me about the way that Broström and Bohlin have decided to do this race. I mean, they've had chances to help each other, really, and on a couple of occasions now, they've instead been fighting side by side. They could be, I mean, to be fair, even if they did get single-filed out and went at the speed they can, I think Byfeld would probably just be able to follow them anyway. But you know, they could be, as you pointed out, they could be going so much quicker right now. Instead, they are choosing to fight amongst one another. And I think ultimately it did hurt their tyres towards the end there as well. You looked at the end of that first stage and they weren't in particularly good shape really either.
No, absolutely not. But it looks like Broström has finally got to the front nicely. The 72 braking way later there, getting so close to hitting his teammate and team boss there, but I don't know what is going to be best. He's gone really, really wide there, and I always feel like it's allowing Byfeld to get in and stay there in behind, but we'll have to see how it progresses as the stint moves on. So it's Byfeld, Fagerberg holding third and fourth place. Lepit's already dropped off by over a second. He's got Bohlin, who's made big moves up there into to P6 now, and that's where he started, but he dropped down outside the top 10 at one point in stage number 1. And then we also have Hagman and Helmbro and Gunnarsson there up inside the top 10. Big wiggles at the front though, Ewan.
Yeah, big wiggle for Linus Broström on the way into turn 1 there. It looked like he gathered it up quite nicely and didn't actually stray too far away from the line he was probably aiming for anyway on the inside line, but just a small mistake. And normally when you've got your teammate right behind you like that, it wouldn't be too much of a concern, because either you can swap places without feeling too bad about it, or indeed your teammate will just give you a bit of breathing space, bit of slack and let you in. But these guys are not behaving like that at the moment. Bohlin absolutely will try and take advantage of any mistake, even if it is just from his teammate.
I think this might mean being a mistake from Broström to try and get the lead at this point, because all that's happened, in my opinion, since then is Byfeld's got closer. But maybe he saw the fact that Bohlin was going to drop off and he wanted to get a car in between them. I don't think this track, with how wide it is, you can really control the race in that way. It's only difficult to overtake, but it's not impossible by any means. So I definitely think if it was half the width that it was, I mean, it very easily, it's sort of 4 lanes wide there, it could very easily be just the 2 and be a bit harder. But no, it's a nice wide open track, and it's going to be difficult to control that as we get to lap 80 at the end of this one. Fagerberg's actually thinking about going up the inside of Byfeld. That would be an interesting one. A bit more of an outside shot, taking points away from some championship rivals.
Yeah, indeed. Again, these teammates still battling with one another down towards turn 1 again this time. Bohlin to the outside, but maybe it's just the lines that they're taking. Just feel like Broström's being compromised on the way in towards turn 1 because he keeps protecting the inside line. But the exact opposite of what he was doing earlier. Bohlin was using the apron on the entry to get turned in. He's now right up high as well. Maybe just experimenting with what works here, really, because they were so roundly beaten by Marcus Byfeldt over the course of a long run earlier on in this race that maybe they're figuring out ways that they can go and beat him. But Byfeldt's getting closer even at this stage in the race. He's homing into view, getting closer even after only, less than 20 laps now, about 20 laps in this run.
Yeah, this is not good. The top 4 are closing up. And just for some context, Fagerberg is down in P20 in the championship. Okay, yeah, fair enough, he's missed the race, but even if he added on a race win, in terms of points, he'd only be P9 in the championship. So he's got 2 top 10s to his name, but he's not, necessarily used to fighting so close to the front. So this would be an awesome opportunity, but we're going almost 3 wide in the middle of turn 2 there. So that is a very awkward moment, and the Polski Logistics cars need to work out what they're going to do here, because I think Broström being in the lead here, I don't think it's making the situation better.
No, it's just they're just tripping over each other, these teammates at the moment, and maybe they think if they get and they make contact here. This is going from bad to worse between these two now. They're going to take each other out if they're not too careful. Bohlin getting close to hitting Broström again there in the rear, coming through turn 1 and 2. And Byfeldt might well think, well, I've got to get ahead of this, get out of trouble here. But goodness me, this is so unhelpful for these two now. Maybe they feel if they drive side by side around the place the whole time that nobody will be able to pass them. But this is so unorganised and so not like their teammates at all, really, that it's making their own life very, very difficult.
I was going to say the same. It almost feels like they're not in proper communication to work together. We do see the fact that obviously they are teammates. As far as I'm aware, they do have communication during the race, at least in previous rounds. But maybe this time around they're trying something a little bit different. Bohlin, in terms of the championship, he is struggling just a little bit compared to where he would have wanted to be. Because Actually, this time around, it might be his first appearance in this season. Maybe that is why, because we were seeing earlier he was having some difficulties getting to some of the races. So he's now not so much of a championship concern, and that could be actually the factor of why he is driving in the way that he is.
Yeah, it's I'm going to be searching for explanations here, because so far, to be honest, in this race, it's been a lot of unexplained things happening between these two at the front. I think Fagerberg's still not able to really get involved here, as Marcus Byfeldt finally now does get alongside, and that's Broström braking early. So that might be where some of the tactics start to come in here. Broström seemed to get off the power there and brake a little bit early, so that Byfeldt didn't have anywhere to go. Now, Byfeldt, if it's a good job he reacted as quickly as he did there, because he could have just rear-ended Broström and they would have gone down like Skittles, but now it's getting very difficult. Broström again on the inside, boxing him in, but Bohlin on the outside being seriously challenged by Byfeldt now.
I don't think Broström's moves there, again, are helping the situation. Bohlin jumps to the inside, they swap around. Is this a coordinated move to try and get the 72 at the front off this train. I don't know, because the 71, he's holding it around the outside. The teammates are battling like it is for their life, even though we're just lap 87 of 138. But this is great entertainment at the front here, trying to work out what these guys are going to do. Byfeld dives down the inside of Oliver Bohlin. He might have this one stuck, though. He's got a good way ahead, and he's even ahead on the exit. How has he done that? Bohlin hasn't got anything for him on the acceleration, so the 105 machine should have this one stuck down the inside into second place, and that would be a shame for the Polski Logistics guys. They're trying to box him in, they're trying to make something work, but it looks like that yellow mean machine for Street Trends is coming for the lead again.
Yeah, maybe he's finding it a bit more difficult to overtake this time with the almost confusion that these guys are putting up in front of him, but because, of course, you remember in stage one, he was able to pick them off one by one quite easily. Jonas Gunnarsson was the last one to pick off on that occasion, but yeah, I'm not sure it's going to last too much longer. And maybe once the overtakes actually do happen, they might just come in and dive for an early pit stop. Of course, that's not really in the window for another 10 laps, you'd say. They'll be going for a real big undercut were they to come in right now. But they're holding him back for now. So this might be all part of the strategy here, trying to keep Byfeld behind. And so far it has worked for perhaps longer than we've seen anybody else keep him behind so far.
Yeah, maybe we're being a bit premature of our judgment. Maybe this is the way that it's going to work. For the two teammates at the front. I mean, it's lovely racing, lovely strategy so far, and overall pretty clean and fair, to be honest. So this is what we want to see. Fagerberg is still sat there in fourth place, trying to make something work. He's gone hard on the inside of the apron. He needs to be careful not to come up too high into the 105, and he doesn't once again, but he is looking strong. And to be honest, there's that second group of cars in behind. They're not catching up, despite all this battling and everything. They're not really catching up. Almost 2 seconds back is Leppit off the back of Fagerberg.
I think that shows the big difference in speed here. As Bohlin gets a bit wide there, here comes Byfeld to the inside. He's going to try and make this dive towards turn 1 and 2. Now Bohlin really under pressure here. That's a nice line for Byfeld. He's been able to pick that line really out of turn 2, and he's properly alongside here. What can they do to try and keep Byfeld behind? Broström dives to the inside and gets right in front of him, being a little bit more aggressive in their tactics here to try and box in the championship leader.
Yeah, that was beautiful from Broström. He knew exactly what he was doing. He's hard to the left again as he work our way down towards the first corner. They're doing everything they can to box in the 105, not give him any space, and he has to back out the throttle there on the exit of T1 as he wasn't able to do what he wanted in turn 2. That's going to allow Fagerberg to get around the outside as well. So we're going to see Bohlin try and actually get the slipstream to Fagerberg on the outside to try and do anything to get Byfeld down into 4th position. Fagerberg might be able to make this work round the outside. We've seen it work so many times so far, and he's just sneaked his nose ahead. Can he come across the front? He has. So Byfeld has gone down to 4th place. He thought he might get the lead at one point, but somehow the Polski Logistics guys are putting themselves in the perfect position to hold this 1-2.
I was just thinking, actually, what an important part of this role now Elliot Fagerberg is actually playing, and wittingly he is. You know, he's a big part of this now, because it was first about keeping Byfeld behind, but also keeping him as far away as possible. And, you know, he's in front now, is Elliot Fagerberg. He's taking this rather strange inside line on the apron, but he's getting good exits off of it as well. If he can keep Byfeld behind for a while, then gives Bohlin and Broström a bit of a reprieve, and they've nearly made it to lap 100 here. You know, we're approaching 40 laps of this second stage now, and they've still kept Marcus Byfeld behind it, and it's clear that Byfeld is pushing now, because I believe they are splitting this final stage into 2, and there will be a green flag pit stop if there's no caution in the next 10 or 15 laps. So they're doing a very good job of keeping him behind, but it's got to continue on, and they've got to control almost where he is through the pit stop phase as well, which is where things get most difficult of all.
I think they're struggling already on their tyres. I mean, we are 1.5 seconds off the pace already, so it's definitely not fast out the front there. But look at this, 2x2 we go, covering off the low and the mid line. And I think Byfeld's just finally decided to sit in the background there and not fight at this point. Let Fagerberg go for it and try and get a race victory for himself. Look at this. I don't think this is direct battling for the Polski guys. I think they just want to go side by side and effectively block off the road and not allow the Gen Z driver to find his way through. The 31 there is putting all of the pressure on them at the front, as Oliver Bohlin goes a little bit more wide this time than he probably would have wanted, but that'll cut back, giving him a good run onto the back straight.
It's still just these four fighting for the lead. This fighting has not invited anybody else in, which just suggests that these four are the class of the field at the moment. I think Jonas Gunnarson would be able to run with them as well if he hadn't have made that mistake earlier on in the race, but as it is, just four, and that's a half slide, a catch for Oliver Bohlin, off of turn 4. Fagerberg not able to take advantage, but that could upturn things as well here. While Fagerberg is quite an important part, I think, unwittingly, of Broström and Bohlin's strategy, he could also get in between them himself, and that would be not helpful for their strategy. So, yeah, this is interesting to see now, side by side for second place.
Indeed, Fagerberg up the inside should have this one stuck. Bohlin once again starting to struggle a bit on the tyres, maybe more compared to the others. We saw that last time out as the two Mustangs go side by side in towards the first corner. Can he make it stick? Yes, he can. And there he goes up the inside, second position. He will have a slightly worse run, but he cuts him off nicely. And Fagerberg from 4th place in the space of about 10 laps has made his way up into 2nd, and he's looking to take the lead as lap 100 closes in here for the Bohlin's 222.
And with Schall and Fagerberg is going to challenge for the lead as well by the looks of it. This is very interesting now. Broström and Bohlin have been dictating this second part of the race between themselves. Now Elliot Fagerberg is in there with them as well, with nearly 100 laps complete. A little bit of a slide there coming off the back straight, so he's not going to get in amongst them. But with less than 40 laps to go now, we're about halfway through the second stage, and surely now we're at the stage where we might well see some green flag pit stops, or are we going to see these guys trying to stretch it to the end? I personally don't think it's possible, but maybe some of these guys are going to try and bring it all the way to the end.
I don't think so, Ewan. Also because the stage caution was 3 laps early, because of the fact it was actually a crash that brought it out rather than going to the end of lap 60 and then pitting. So that extra couple of laps on the fuel, I think is going to make it even more difficult as well. So I don't think, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think we're going to be able to see some drivers stretch it that far. If it was 5 laps, maybe, but with how hard they've been fighting, I don't think they would have been able to save that fuel either. I mean, Broström, he's really been aggressive here later on the brakes. A couple of times he broke a bit early, I guess, but in general, they're trying hard to keep these cars behind. As we're on board with Fagerberg as he tries to chase down Broström. 2-time top 10 finisher this season, Fagerberg, as he works his way towards the front, looking for his first race victory.
Yeah, indeed. It seems that feels as if anybody other than Bijveld winning would be a first-time win this season. Obviously, only Daniel Holmer can say otherwise, but he's not quite had the speed here today compared to what we've seen from him in some races gone past. So the laps continue to tick away, and still pit stops not happening further down the field. Only Jonas Skoglund has come in since the second stage started, by the way, and so that's so maybe they are going to try and make it all the way to the end. But Fagerberg's still applying this pressure for the lead. It's just a case of where is he going to actually get this move, and what's Bijveld going to do about these 3 in front of him here, because this is the first time tonight he's really had so much defending in front of him, and successfully defended in front of him as well, because the first stage he did rather walk over the rest of the field.
Hard move to the left there from Broström off to black flag for Lars Bulker. That is very interesting. A driver who's now coming down pit road. He was fighting up inside top 10 at one point. That's going to put him a lap down. As here comes Bijveld up the inside of Oliver Bohlin. That's going to be back into P3. Sat there politely for 10 or so laps, but now he's trying to work his way back forward. So Oliver Bohlin from the lead down to P4 and is really struggling on the tyres now. We do have a pit stop to get to the end of the race, so he should be able to get another set of tyres on. And with it being a shorter stint to the end, maybe that might help him out. But for now, he's dropping back because he can't hold on to the tyres.
I wonder why he doesn't try and come in now, to be honest, because he's not much use in this group anymore to try and stay in front of Bijveld or whatever. We're over halfway through the second stage, so, oh dear, look at that again from That's a few moments ago from Hagman. That's a replay, by the way, from a few moments ago, because Hagman in live pitch is actually into pit lane. He's really struggling on the exit of turn number 2 there. We saw it live, but he, I think, has realised he needs a set of tyres, a new set, and so he's coming to get them now. Just less than 35 laps to go.
I don't think, I mean, I know what you're saying about Oliver Bohlin, and to be honest, he's really dropped off now, hasn't he? Oh my word. I think they're going to wait and see if there's a caution. Fagerberg, though, to the outside, he's not thinking about playing it cool. He wants to go for this race lead around the outside of 71, and he should have the better run, as he has the outside line, has the straighter exit. Can he make it work down in towards turn 3 and 4? It's going to be the long way round through that mid-line. He's been so successful so far, but the 71 squares that off nicely as the 31 does the switchback, and he gets the inside line. That is what a wonderful move. We haven't seen this much so far today, but look at the run that he's got down the front stretch as we go on to that 107. Just over 30 laps to go, and the 31 puts his nose ahead at the lead of this race, but he's going to have to play it really, really well here to try and keep on to it down the back straight.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a brilliant drive from Elliot Fagerberg in this race. Not someone we normally see up towards the front challenging in this way, but he is right now challenging seriously for a race victory. And Linus Broström is not going to give up. So Byfeld's just sitting back here. I wonder whether he has been for a few laps now. He's thought, well, I've not been able to pass, so let's really conserve these tyres and push on again a little bit later on in the day. But Fagerberg and Broström battling is just a wonderful one to watch at the moment. And here comes Marcus Hagman trying to unlap himself. This would get him back onto the lead lap here and save him from being trapped 1 lap down if there were to be a caution.
And the way he just drove past Marcus Byfeld in the middle of T1 and 2, that was hilarious. The speed difference between these drivers is going to be almost a couple of seconds a lap, and he's going to get the run. This is actually going to help Broström, because Fagerberg is going to get done here in towards the first corner, you would assume. Having said that, it's not quite as an easy move, but look how he's driving through the middle of T1 and 2, going past them as they're standing still, but he couldn't get on the power as he wanted. He had to back out of it, which loses him a lot of momentum down this back straight, and this is going to annoy Fagerberg as he can't do what he wants on Broström. Broström goes wide, almost to let the 12 through. That might open up the door to the 31 though, and I think in the end it's not helped. He's going to have to chop him off there, and in the end just about holds on. But Hagman is actually getting right in the way of the leaders, but I think give it another lap and then he'll be out of the way, and this should be absolutely fine. But that was a tense moment there for the 71, who still holds on. We are lap 50 of this stint now, so really it's another 10 laps, let's say, and they'll have to be down for a green flag stop whatever happens.
Yeah, I am surprised they've gone in this deep into the race, to be honest. I would have thought we'd see more pit stops by this stage, as Fagerberg just looks like he's constantly coming in pit lane with that line he's using out of turn number 4, but he's just trying to get a run on Linus Broström, and again he's going to manage it here. Only just over 25 laps to go, and still these guys are suffering on pretty old tyres compared to some of the others further down who will be racing up to them now on newer ones. You wonder where Marcus Hagman might actually be able to find himself here, given these guys are waiting so long. But they're still fighting here for the race lead, and Fagerberg is getting so close now to getting clear of Linus Broström and properly leading this race, but he's not quite got that right. Broström on the exit stays in front again.
Byfeld gets the run, backs out of that one though. Thought about it, but not quite enough as Fagerberg goes in way too deep. The 105 should get under the inside of him here through turn 2, but is that going to be enough? Because once again, the outside line, you generally just get a little bit of a better exit. They both sort of wiggle towards each other on these wearing tyres, and this has been an amazing race so far. The only caution really has been the stage caution. It came a couple of laps early because of a crash, but in general we were expecting one caution then anyway, and it's been green flag racing for over 100 laps beyond that. What incredible action we've had here, and the side-by-side battles have been so nice to see. The difference in line, the 105 there, boot for the throttle, mid-corner, trying to get through into second place to confirm that position. Broström's way slower up ahead, so Byfeld's going to have to squeeze it on the outside. No real room as the 71 blocks him in.
This has been such a key part of this battle as well, just it feels like, anyway, blocking Marcus Byfeld in behind somebody else. And again, Linus Broström has managed it here, this time with somebody who's not even his teammate, Elliot Fagerberg on the inside, although he might pay for it with the race lead right now. Brostrom a little bit slow on the way in towards turn 1 there, and he's a bit wide there too. Can Fagerberg now get clear? I think he might still just be alongside there, Brostrom, is he? No, he's not. Finally, Fagerberg gets clear, but that has taken an age for him to make that pass.
This is incredible action. It's so difficult to complete the move here. The 71 goes a little bit high. The 105 is going to dive down his inside, trying to get on the power, not enough. As Autoritas has to sit back there, and this is awesome. Brostrom is definitely the slowest of this top 3 as it stands, but he's trying to make it work and trying to hold on. And just for your reference, Marcus Hagman now is 24 seconds off the lead. It's 33, even more than that it is for a lot of drivers, 38 pit lane time. I think if you get green flag stops for these guys, Hagman is going to be a big threat, but of course he will be on quite a bit older tyres by that point. But track position wise, he's going to jump up quite a bit. Byfeld gets a run down the inside in towards turn 1. Is this his opportunity to finally get second place? Fagerberg going up the way. He can't let him get away too much if we're going to stay green flag to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Linus Brostrom is starting to pay for this now. And as I mentioned, I thought Bohlin should have been in some time ago. This might be the chance now that Linus Brostrom decides to come into the pit lane as well. He's staying quite tight to the inside, but he has done that quite often. So he is going to continue on. But I just don't get the point here of them carrying on in the wheel tracks of Marcus Byfeld when they're no longer able to sort of disrupt his race in any way. They've got to, for me, try and get an undercut on him. Now, of course, they don't want to be overcut by him in a sense of when he makes his pit stop, coming out with eventually fresher tyres and slowly running them down at the end of the race. That's going to be a bit of a concern for them. However, I don't really see the point of them just following him at this stage in the race. 20 laps to go, and I'm beginning to wonder more and more whether we actually are going to see these guys just try and go right through to the end.
I don't know, because the information that we get, as you well know, Ewan, but maybe not the viewers, is the information on lap counts and stuff often comes from Linus himself. So sometimes I wonder if he tells us 100% correct information just in case anyone else sees that and doesn't want to know his strategy, because there has been times when he has gone 5 odd laps longer than what he says. But for now, Ewan, they would have to go what's this going to be, like 12? No, more than that, laps longer, 18 laps longer than what he said. So surely that's too much.
I thought so right from the very beginning, actually, but the longer this is going on, the more I'm beginning to doubt that, because I just don't understand the point of having your stints so lopsided. I mean, surely they're not that averse to a green flag pit stop. I mean, Marcus Hagman, who wasn't even, wasn't exactly challenging for the lead at the time, wasn't off the lead lap for very long at all. So that can't be the thing they're really worried about either, getting trapped a lap down, because he was only in danger for 5 minutes or so there was Hagman. Of course, it takes much less than 5 minutes to cause a caution, but nevertheless, you've got to sort of take these small risks. And yeah, I'm beginning to doubt myself more and more the way that this is going on. But anyway, let's see what happens here for the remainder of this. Just 18 laps to go, and they're just not going to get any benefit from having new tyres on. Maybe they're not going to take any tyres. Maybe they'll just take a splash of fuel. But that doesn't seem to make much sense either when they've still got 2 whole sets lying on pit lane.
I would love to see an Oliver Bohlin out of the count for the championship in terms of points. Why don't you go for it? Try something, see if it works. Get Marcus Byfeld to do something different. That is what we want to see, as Linus Brostrom is going to get overtaken here. Surely the Polski guys, as you say, need to come down pit road. We're lap 61 of the stint now. About lap 65, we're told, is a good stint on fuel. So even then, to get to the end, or is this Brostrom finally coming down pit lane? No, it's just a very, very tight line. I would love to see it. Try something different, because otherwise you're already 3 seconds off the lead. Yeah,
I don't disagree. You're never going to win the race from back. I mean, neither of these two are never going to win the race from back here, are they? So they might as well try something. But it almost feels like it's a little bit too late for that. I would have personally liked to see that from Bohlin about 10 laps ago. But anyway, I think they've left it a little bit late now to try and close his gap. For reference, by the way, Hagman is still the best placed of those who've made a pit stop here, and he's closing up these guys by about half a second a lap. But with about 15 laps to go, he's only be able to get 8 seconds closer. That's barely going to get him into the top 10 again. I think where I think he will get to, but he's not going to challenge for the lead. So maybe these guys have made the right call and try to fuel save and get to the very end, but still quite confusing that they've been able to do that. And not least because of the information we were given, but also because of the way the stages are normally set up. Normally they're set up so that in at least one of the parts of this race, if not both parts, the drivers have to make one pit stop if it goes green the whole time. And so it will be completely averse to everything we've seen so far in this series for them to go right to the end from here.
Maybe we're just wrong. Maybe we're just wrong. All the information is maybe he meant 75 laps on fuel rather than 65. Maybe it was a typo, in which case then we wouldn't really know so much. But let's see what is going to happen here. This 31 there, really tight line as we're going on to lap 1:25.13 to go here for the Bohlins 2:22. And as ever, that is the kilometres of the race. But the tracks are in miles. That's why we end up being 138 miles around this racetrack here at New Hampshire. It's round 5 of the season, and Byfeld, he's won 3 of the 4 races so far. He's coming for a 4th win of the season. Fagerberg is coming for his first podium, let alone his first win of the season. Let's see how this one acts. He's just got 2 top 10s to his name, but all outside of the top 5 so far.
Yeah, indeed. Well, 13 laps to go, including this one. And as I say, the longer this goes on, the more it looks like this is going to continue on right to the end of this race now. At the front of the field, Fagerberg versus Byfeld. And what a great result it would be for Elliot Fagerberg to actually hold on from here. He's all the way down tied for 20th in the point standings at the moment. Hasn't been at every round so far, but nevertheless is so far down in the field. It would be massive for him to hold on in front of Byfeld, but such a difficult task for him to do that with the amount of time remaining.
And I don't know if you mentioned it, Ewan, but Jonas Gunnarsson has got back up into 5th place, and he's now less than a second behind Broström. If you remember, at one point I said he was 4 seconds off the lead, which was Broström pretty much at that time, and now it's less than a second to that. So he's gained a lot of time, and championship-wise, those two are fighting. The 31 comes down pit lane, so it is going to be a splash and dash. 7 laps of fuel required for the 31. Is anyone going to go longer? Is the undercut on the fresher tyres going to work for Fagerberg, or is everyone just going to respond?
Well, let's see. Firstly, see what he actually does here in the pit lane. Surely it's only a splash and dash with this amount of time. As the time ticks away. He's up on the right side.
At least. Yeah, it must be.
Oh, he's taking 4. What is the point? I mean, there's 10 laps to go, for goodness sake. I know it's 2 seconds a lap, but there's 10 laps remaining. This should have been done ages ago. Ages and ages and ages ago. If you want to take 4 tyres, should have done it 20, 30 laps ago, but there you go. That might well have cost him a chance of this race. I don't think Byfeld's going to take 4 tyres. I don't think he'll take any.
Yeah, I think either take none or take 2 for the outside for the sake of it, if everyone else is taking tyres. Gunnarsson there, big send to the inside. This is now going to be for a podium place with Fagerberg out of the way, but is anyone else going to be coming down pit road just yet? Looks like no, these guys are going to be continuing on, and I can't work out what's going to go on, Ewan. We're 8 laps to go in this race. We don't know if they're going to stop yet, but then if they do with 8 laps, then as you say, you might as well splash and dash. Surely Fagerberg is going to be maybe even outside of the proper points, outside the top 5 or so, with how it's gonna end. But I guess he's actually only down into 11th place, such is the amount of cars that they've put a lap down.
Yeah, in fact, if everybody in front comes in here, Marcus Harkman is not going to be that far away from the race lead, which is going to be quite weird. Of course, he's going to be sitting duck a little bit with the tyres as old as they are. He only took 2 tyres, and they were taken quite some time ago. But yeah, if you wanted to take 4 tyres, that should have been a very, very long time ago. But anyway, Jonas Gunnarsson has got the speed over Broström and maybe Oliver Bohlin as well here. So here he goes past Broström, breaks late on the outside and goes through nicely into the top 3 again. And Bohlin will be next up for him.
Yeah, Tom Bohlin, it was big into the wall on the XLT2. and it's Bjorn Broström, the father of Linus, that they are trying to get past now. Down in towards the first couple of corners for MHG Racing, but it looks like it's just about enough there for him to get through. And Byfoot leads, by the way, by 4 seconds. We haven't spoken about him in a while, but it's 4 seconds is the lead. That just shows you the control of the tyres that he had. Everyone was pushing at the same pace of him for lap after lap, and now the final 10 laps of this stint, lap 60 onwards, he's just pulled away, and he's able to keep that consistency. He's over half a second quicker than these drivers at this moment in time, and that consistency is why he's leading this championship. I think they're going to try and stretch it to the end, because I think they would have hit by now, even if it was a splash and dash.
I can't understand in these last 10 laps why you would do anything more than just a splash and dash, really. As we mentioned, I'm surprised that they haven't made their pit stops already, and indeed I'd be very surprised if they can all make it to the end of the race having fuel saved. But you know, if you look back at this final stage of the race, Byfoot was sitting back behind Bohlin and Broström and Fagerberg for quite some time there, and maybe he was doing a lot of lift and coast coming in towards turn 1, turn 3 as he was sat behind them, and maybe he has saved enough fuel to make it to the end. That would be very surprising, but as these laps tick down, you start to realise that, yeah, he's got a real chance of making it here, although more people are stopping further down. Fagerberg's going to move up to 9th now.
Yeah, Marcus Hagman's in 8th place. He's 20 seconds off the lead. Bear in mind, he was over a lap down, and it's 33 seconds a lap at this moment in time. So he's gained so much time. He's already 30 laps into the stint. And what a difference. So Bohlin there comes down pit lane, so he needs a 3-lap splash and dash. So he wasn't able to do so. Surely with those 3 laps, that means that the others have been able to do so, because he was pushing a lot harder. Byfoot was sat in behind. I'm very sure now that Byfoot is going to go to the end here on lap 135. If it's going to be so close, but they definitely would have come down by now. So he just sat there in P4 behind Fagerberg, behind the 2 Polski cars for a while, saved the fuel that he needed, and obviously that saves a bit of tyres as well. So now he's almost 5 seconds in the lead of Gunnarsson, and he's got just 2.5 laps to go.
It just shows, doesn't it? You can try everything to try and keep him down here, Marcus Byfoot, but they just cannot find a way to beat him this season. I mean, Atlanta was finally round 4, the first time that anybody was able to beat him in this race. We spoke at the top of this race about how they're going to have to take points fairly significantly per round over Marcus Byfoot here to go on and win this championship. Jonas Gunnarsson was going to have to take about 10 points a round. Well, Byfoot is going to be close to taking the 10 points and adding that onto his lead at the moment. It's been a remarkable race from him. If you try and keep him down one way, he'll go and find another way to win. And on this occasion, that's included a massive amount of fuel saving to get him to the end of this race where few others thought it was possible. He's out-strategized the others today, and he's a lap away from taking yet another win.
Just over a year ago, we were at this circuit. 13 cautions later, we got a green-white checker finish. But this time around, it's been green flag the whole way, apart from the stage caution. And Marcus Byfoot has sat calmly in behind in both stages. But once again, when it always matters, he gets to the front and he's able to win the stage. And now, out of the final corner, he's going to win the Bohlin's 222 to take his 4th race victory of the season. And in dominant fashion, once again, he's going to cross the line with a 6-second lead ahead of Jonas Gunnarsson and Linus Broström at the front.
Remarkable from Byfoot again. He is by far and away the favourite for this championship now. It's impossible really to see how somebody's going to beat him from here. It's going to have to take some very, very bad weeks ahead, and there are some difficult weeks ahead. Bristol and Talladega are tagged on to one another in April. Those are 2 very difficult racetracks where things out of your control can take a race away from you. But I would go as far to say it would take both of those races going terribly for this championship to be even remotely close at this point. He is running away with it, and at the moment would be a very deserving champion by the time we get to May. We'll see whether he can hold on, but he is red-hot favourite to do so from now.
What a showing this is for the 105 Street Trends car. He's won 3 of the last 4 road course championships. They finally convinced him to come to the ovals, and now he's just dominating. When I saw this, I was expecting him to take a season to get up to speed, but no, He just has the raw speed in that car, and what a wonderful sight that is. We have the 3 manufacturers on the podium as well, with Byfeldt, Gunnarsson and Broström, and by my maths, that will be the order in the championship as well, with Gunnarsson in 2nd place and Broström 3rd also in the standings. Helmbro got 4th place in the end, and Holmer was in 5th. Leppit, a strong day today, but ended up in 6th place with Fagerberg, Hagman, Erling and Oliver Wallen rounding out your top 10. Gunnarsson actually got the fastest lap there on lap number 2. That's interesting because that takes a point away from Marcus Byfeldt as well. Kenneth Tier was the final driver on the lead lap, with Lundberg, Broström, Wallen, Schott and Skoglund all a lap down before we see Bulka, Forsberg, and then Tony Uvenen, the one who caused the stage caution being a couple of laps early, down in P19. But let's get a word from some of the drivers. As ever, we don't hear from Marcus Byfeldt, which is a shame, but let's hear from 2nd place man, Jonas Gunnarsson, in the number 33. And Jonas, firstly, take us through the opening stage of the race. It went green for a lot longer than we were expecting, to be honest. We had 13 cautions last time we came to this track, but it stayed green and you worked your way to the front. How were you feeling in that first stage?
Yeah, it felt good until Byfeldt came. Yeah, what can I say? Is magic with the tires.
Yeah, certainly. Were you
and fuel, obvious.
Well, yeah, that's very true. Were you expecting such long stints at this track? I mean, in the end, it was basically a green flag race because we were going to get the stage caution anyway.
No, not at all. But I started fuel saving on lap 63, so I didn't have to. It was in the back of my mind, but when I spun the tires and was in the back of the field, I was like, yeah, let's see and try and fuel save and save the tires a lot. So it worked out pretty good.
Well, absolutely. So, of course, in the end, Marcus just beat you in the final few laps of getting that stage win. We then go to the restart, and you had Forsberg in front of you on the old tyres. How difficult was it just to judge the difference in grip and the difference in speed on that restart?
Yeah, sorry to him. I don't remember who it was.
Yeah, Dante Forsberg.
Dante Forsberg. Yeah, sorry to him. I was not even on full throttle when I hit him, so but probably a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of penalised yourself in some way because you went almost to the back of the field. We didn't see you on the broadcast so much because we were focusing on the battles at the front, but how was your journey back through the field?
Yeah, like I said, I was fuel saving a lot in the beginning, so I was lift and coast into every corner. Then I saw people started to struggle with the tires, and I tried to overtake them. And because I started so early fuel saving, I could go for like 2 laps full throttle when I tried to overtake. So that's that.
Yeah, certainly an interesting track, but that keeps you 2nd place in the championship as well. So certainly a solid evening. So hopefully we see you next time. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, another solid day for the 33, and then we'll bring in Linus in the 71 for Polski Logistics. And Linus, that was a different race, a completely different race actually to what I was expecting after all the cautions last time, and in general just being a 1 mile flat track. But how did you find the race today with all the fuel saving in the end?
Yeah, it was a good race overall, I think. I was expecting and basing my strategy off of a ton of cautions, like you guys probably were.
Yep.
Having 13 last year, and I think we had like 12 in an hour's racing on Monday in the practice race. So this was not what I was expecting for today. But we had the same at Atlanta last time around. So yeah, but overall it was a good race. Fun to see all the strategies play out, people coming and going, and having to fuel save and maintaining the lead. It wasn't very easy, but I was able to do it for like 25 laps or something, and then the first car go by, and then I didn't have clean air anymore, so then I just fell back and wore my tires off, and I don't know, what to do with Marcus at this point. He's just way too fast. So, I mean, we're fighting for second now. Unless he has a complete meltdown or misses like 3 races in a row, I think he's going to win the championship pretty easily. So, fighting for second. So, losing the second place there to Jonas in the end was probably the worst driver to lose it to, since I'm battling him in the championship. But it's going to be a fun final 4 races here in the season, definitely.
Yeah, it certainly is. We go to Kansas next time. Always a fun track, and it is the your own sponsored race, the 3rd annual Polski Logistics 350. How are you feeling going into that one?
I'm usually doing pretty well there. I still haven't got a win. I usually lose the lead a few laps from the end.
Yeah.
I'm running up towards the front a lot there, though, so I'll be putting in some practice, and hopefully I can get a win there. Unless Alex or Oliver does it. It's great to have him back as well now, running well. But yeah, that's. I'm not going to base my strategy off of what we see on the Monday, though. That's for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And final question for you as well, really, is looking towards the end of the season, the next few races. You said you're battling with Jonas really for second place. What can Oliver do now that he's come back in after missing some races? Is he going to be more of a team player to help you in that, or is he, is he actually doing the other races in the season?
I think he's going to race all the races now that he's fit enough to race, and all we need is just points for the team's championship. Really, that's all he can do. So I think he's to more use trying to run up front and score a lot of points, because he is really fast, rather than just try and be in the way and do stuff like that. So we almost had him in second place today, or third as well, which would have been good points, but he ran out of fuel a couple of laps from the end there, so that was a shame. But still decent points from him, so yeah, I'm guessing he can maybe win a race as well.
Yeah, that was certainly quite interesting. So thanks for speaking to us, and we'll hopefully see you next time.
Thank you, guys.
And of course, that is a wrap here from New Hampshire. What a race that was. Not what anyone expected, but certainly entertaining. And the strategic games coming, potentially playing out this championship. But we'll see how it goes next time, a couple of weeks. Kansas Speedway, the 3rd annual Polski Logistics 350. Being myself again here as we work our way through towards the end of this championship. But don't forget, the road course series continues next time. We're obviously in the GT3s, and we go to Brazil, to Interlagos there next week. That's going to be a whole load of fun as well. But for tonight, it's been myself, Cam Roger, Ewan O'Leary alongside me, and Hugo Louise on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast. And until next week in the GT3s, or a couple of weeks back at the ovals, we wish you a very warm goodbye.